Namaste. Welcome back, beautiful souls. If you're new to the channel, a warm welcome to you. My name is Sadhana. And a bit of a preamble here, I'm going to be sharing with you 15 tarot decks. Now, these 15 decks are chosen through a process that took me about a year. I did a series called Top Tarot Minors that is linked below. So there are 56 videos, 57 actually, sharing with you some of my favorite cards of each of the minor arcana in the tarot, starting with the Ace of Wands and ending with the King of Pentacles, plus a summary video. And in that video, I forgot one deck and a few things. So this is another recap video from Top Tarot Minors. And as I put these banners on the screen, I want to tell you what these mean. So I'm sharing with you 15 decks. And in the bottom group of cards, there was a 5-way tie. So what it means, number 11, Tarot of the Hidden Realm, 6 cards, 5-way tie. It means that 6 cards from Tarot of the Hidden Realm found their way into the top 5 in Top Tarot Minors. I also did a series called Top Tarot Trumps, which I should probably also link below. And there are also 4 other decks that had 6 cards in the top 5. So my process was this. I went through my whole tarot library and I chose cards that reflected a really powerful energy of each of the minors. And in some of the videos, you have like 12, 15 cards, and then I chose my top 5. Other videos, I couldn't find that many. And so there may be just six cards, and then I eliminated 1. And so this top 15, in order to be here, you would have had to been a top 5. Or in the case of the King of Pentacles, I did choose a top 10. And to see all of that, you need to watch the videos that are in the series. But let's get to these decks. And you can see here that Tarot of the Hidden Realm, along with 4 other decks, had 6 cards in the finals. And here on the table are 2 of them. This is the Numinous Tarot, and this is Tarot of Echoes. And I will talk about each of these decks one by one. All right, so let's begin. Tarot of the Hidden Realm. This is a very special deck to me. I have purchased this deck for many a beginning reader. And I think among tarot readers, this opinion varies because the aces are animals. It's the only animal card in the suits. And there are a lot of close-up images. And for some people, that's really difficult to read. However, what I have learned through this series, is that emotion is really important. Facing. And my emotional response to the cards is really everything. And so there may be a color, there may be an expression on the face, there may be a particular symbol that is standing out. But I think above all, there is something in the artwork that just hits a chord within me. And, through my experience and many, many years of reading the tarot, there will be other connections as well, too. And this deck in general is an emotionally powerful deck. And, one of my daughters has this deck. I gave it to her, and she still relies so heavily on the guidebook, which really surprises me because she's so intuitive. And this is such a great deck for facings as well, too. So what I mean by that is you have cards where they show up in a reading and maybe this son is not exactly looking at his father. He's looking at maybe his father in heaven, or this particular figure is looking right to us, saying something powerful. And when we're talking about facings in a deck, so let's suppose this is a little brother. This is such a pretty card, by the way. And this is the older brother. Well, they're moving in the same direction. There is a sense of wonder in both of their faces. Suppose this is a question of family, right? We can say they're moving in the same direction. There's a sense of trust and wonder in all of them. One of the things about facings is that when cards are in this position, right, they talk to each other as opposed to being back to back, which says something else. And this deck does that as well too, as being highly evocative. So, and there's some really unique cards in this deck as well too, like this Nine of Wands. Wands for me is a suit of Dharma. Yes, it's a suit of will and creativity, but look at the fire, the passion, the ownership of the art in this Nine of Wands. And once you start to build your basic keywords for each of the suits, so much can come out of this body of work. It's really extraordinary. Now, Tarot of Echoes is a much newer deck. This is the indie version, so the self-published version. It's one of Anna Turian's decks. And her art flows. Her art flows. There's a combination of ink and paint, and there's always movement in the hair. She's really good at drawing bodies and facial expressions, and sometimes it's just very, I don't know, it's something about the color, the passion, the expression. These cards talk. And I really have been enjoying this deck. It's one of my most used decks from 2024. There are some very different cards in this deck that deserved a showing in top tarot minors. One of them, which is a really difficult card. This is a gorgeous Page of Cups. And in this case, the fish is being released back into the river, which feels almost Page of Earth kind of energy. And I'm looking for a card here, the one where she's dancing across the field with the dream catcher. It's an incredible card. I love this Eight of Pentacles too. Stunning. Queen of Pentacles. Oh, well, here's another one. So this is, if you know the original Mary Poppins, very poignant. Six of Pentacles is a card of reciprocity, and I think it's so beautifully captured here. The contrast in color, the connection. It's like in that movie, the father doesn't understand what anybody would get from feeding the birds. But it's about the power of connection. Amazing Four of Swords. This is the card I'm talking about. This one's really got me thinking about the Seven of Cups. And again, love the movement. There's direction. You can work with facings. She has a dream catcher. Is she releasing dreams? Is she catching dreams? And I think this opens up a whole new conversation for that card. And if you want to hear more, like I said, there's a 56 card series waiting for you. All right, so the Numinous Tarot by Cedar McLeod. There are a couple of suits in this deck that really do the minors well. And one is the suit of tomes, suit of pentacles. And the idea of the use of the book is really clever. The book as the culmination of the journey, all of our knowledge contained within the book, and the stitching of the book as being part of the process and the work and what we do here in this world as part of our work. It's really kind of brilliant. And there's this concept of library. This is also part of their story in the I won't say the accompanying oracle, but an oracle that's also created by Cedar MacLeod. Vials is the suit of water. The court cards are changed in this deck as well too. So here's a pair of cards that are really important in this deck: the Four of Tomes and the Six of Tomes. So in the Four, the books are encased, cobwebs growing on the bookcase, beautifully displayed, great pride, special books, crystal on the shelf or some beautiful thing energizing the books. And then in the Six, same card as in Echoes I was showing you, card of reciprocity. And here we have a little free library, one of those community libraries, end of some neighbor's driveway, and we share freely, we give freely. The other suit that I really like in this deck is the suit of bells, which is air, swords. And I think it's an important aspect of the suit of swords that we don't often speak to. And that is sound. And sound is a reflection of voice. It's part of listening, hearing, finding one's voice. The court cards are changed. So creator is queen, dreamer is page. Yeah. It's really a beautiful, beautiful deck. All right, so anything else I want to say here? It is a queer deck. So very inclusive, also includes abilities of movement. Gorgeous Ace of Vials. Vials is the suit of water. Yeah. It's just a pleasure. And there is a crystal clear Ace of Bells. Crystal clear Ace of Bells as opposed to the very noisy Nine of Bells. I just think it's done so well. And here the bells guide the way in the Six of Bells. All right, so in this first group, the five-way tie, there's two other decks. One is Pagan Otherworlds, and one is Lily White. And this deck featured heavily in court cards. I really like the court cards in Pagan Otherworlds. They are so beautifully dressed, for one thing. I'm a sucker for gorgeous fabric. But there is expression and movement. And again, this feeling in this deck is really powerful. I'm going to show to you today a lot of what you might describe as pip decks. Decks that don't have a lot of humans in the minor arcana. And while these shapes are different than, let's say, in the Tarot de Marseille, the way the cups are arranged, there often is scenery. There's something that you can read into the shape. There's often a reflection of the background and the symbol that represents the element itself. And it gets you asking questions. What does this mean that 8 wands stand upright, almost upright? Looks like one is about to fall over. The one that's in the foreground is is leaning. There is a path that's going through. It's a wonderful deck just to begin to talk and to describe the scene. And if you struggle with cards that don't have humans in every card or a clear scene, that's one of my best tarot tips, is to just start with a description. Beautiful Ace of Pentacles. And this is a deck that really surprised me. I did not purchase this deck. It was a gift, and I had no idea until I had it in hand what an amazing, amazing deck it was. This beauty here, it's been a favorite. And I don't, there's no perfect deck, but this deck really does do many of the minors very well. Through suit sigil, shape. I love watercolor. Again, you feel something in these cards. The kings have, like this is the King of Wands. The kings have 4 candles. So the queen will have 3 candles, and the knight will have 2 candles, and the page will have 1 candle. I feel something in this deck, in the cards. This is one of my favorite suits. This is the 2. You can just see movement in action. And then here's the Ace and the 10. And I've shared these 2 cards many, many times on my channel. It's like, I wish all tarot decks did this, where you could see the potential and the fulfillment in the suit. And you do here. And it's gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Yeah. Lily White. Some of the court cards I'm not really crazy about, but so many other cards they get me. Like, the heart here. What are you gonna read into this? And I love taking my time with pip cards and looking at the arrangement of the symbol. 2 over 3, 3 below, 2 above. What does that mean to you? And there's another deck, Black, Lily Black, which is similar. It is not the same. The paintings were recreated it's a nighttime deck. And this card is extraordinary in the black deck because this dark door is illuminated with a sort of a fluorescent green color. It's really, really stunning. Yeah, I do like this queen. Let's go to the cups. I'm going to show you a couple of cards here. 6 of Cups. Oh, yeah, there's a queen. Okay, so this card. 6 of Cups, nesting bowls. And there's a reflection of these very colorful, fully bloomed flowers. And then we have these little baby flowers on the water in the nesting cups. I think there's so much you can work with in many of these cards once you take your time and begin to orate, right? You want to tell a story as you describe each card. Okay, so that is the first group. And then there is another group of 5. And the next 5 decks all had 7 cards in the finals. And the first of those is the Wee Moon Tarot. I have been a fan of Wee Moon for some time, have been purchasing their journals for many years. And this is a curated deck. So it includes the art from journals over the years. Everything's changed in this deck as far as court card names, astrology. I won't say everything. Sometimes you can, like, this is so brilliant. Water is love. 2 of water. And 2 of Cups isn't necessarily about a couple relationship, but it's hard to not think about it when you're a beginner reader. If you're looking at a card where two possible lovers are gazing into each other's eyes. And this deck really does expand your range of possibilities of interpretation. This is the Six of Fire. So middle decan of Leo in Golden Dawn, but like I'm saying, they've totally redone the astrology in this deck. And in my humble opinion, I think you can work with astrology in whatever way, if you're working with astrology, or you can learn the way of this deck. And I love this interpretation of the Six of Fire. There's a great book that goes with it. The keywords are excellent, though not necessary for interpretation. And then we have horizontal cards as well as vertical cards. And I mentioned that the court cards are different. So for Page, we have Fire, Amazon. We have Daughter, our Amazon Daughter. And you might recognize some of the cards here because this one is in the Dark Goddess Tarot, and there's cards from other decks as well here. Priestess Mother is the second court, so this is would be the equivalent of the Knight. The Crone is the King. And the Matriarch is the Queen. This one is a favorite, the Earth Page. And the writing in the guidebook is short and powerful. This is the Wee Moon Tarot. Most of the decks you are looking at, I do have videos on my channel. All right, so this second group also includes Tarot of the Sidhe. And this is another deck where you either love this deck or not. And I think this is a deck that requires a bit of courage. It asks you to dig deep. If you are ready and willing on your self-healing journey, it's a great deck for you. And in this deck, we see the Sidhe responding to the earth, not always above the earth, sometimes within the body of the earth, protecting the earth, healing the earth. And the creation of this deck is a great story. The creatrix is Emily Carding, a very amazing Shakespearean actor. And they were taking a course with John Matthews, I believe, on the Sidhe. There's a short book on the Sidhe I have shared a few times that, anyway, John Matthews asked them to respond to the course. And this is Emily Carding's response to the course on the Sidhe to create this deck. And I believe that is part of the introduction in the guidebook, which is also excellent. Includes poetry. It's wonderful. This is the Air Knight. Wonderful cards to sit with and reflect. And yeah, there's some scary ones, the aces, say the element at the bottom, and this is the Ace of Water. Dancers are water, warriors are fire. Amazing Queen card. So this is the Queen of Fire. and they are rising out of the water. All queens being connected to the element of water, and yet this is the fire queen rising up. And whether you are working with Tree of Life, you're working with chakras, fire plus water equals air, and we have this energy of, I don't know, it's birds or just energy moving out that looks like the result of the connection of fire and water. Great 10 of fire. So yeah, I've been working with this deck for a long time, and I mean, if you are new to the tarot, if you are not quite ready to dive and face your stuff, maybe this isn't a deck for you, but if you really want to have a hard look at what's going on, this is an amazing deck. Now, this card might strike terror in some people, but if you just stop for a minute, the Dreamer 10, this is the 10 of Swords. This is the third eye, the frontal point of the third eye chakra, and it is dripping with blood. It is letting go. It's purifying. It really is a beautiful completion, clearing all the gunk out of the mind. I don't know. I think it's a very satisfying ending to the suit of swords. There's the ace of that suit. The princess of water dancing on the back of a unicorn. All right, so we're still in the second group. And we have another deck I've worked with for a long time. I believe about 3 years exclusively, which is unheard of these days because there are so many decks available. People don't have the patience to spend that long with a deck. This deck has been trimmed. Many of my decks have been trimmed. Keywords are cut off. 8 of water. What's happening? The sunlight catches the drip, catches the droplet of water. What are the effects of water dropping in the pond? The leaf catches it for a time. I mean, you sit with cards and you just describe them. You describe them. And if you write, or if you write poetry, you can respond in other ways. The ripeness, you can talk about the ripeness of the fruit. This is a suit of rainbows, suit of earth. The suit of swords in this deck is kind of difficult. The court cards are really kind of good in this deck. This symbol is for knights. They go to the left. Let me show you a couple other court cards here. This is a king. The arrow goes up like the blade. The chalice for the queen. This gorgeous 10 of water. So the aces are just a diamond shape. This is the ace of rainbows, the ace of earth, and the 10 of earth. There is the knight of fire. And the keywords are quite good. Most of them I remember. There's a page, so the symbol for the pages go to the right. It's a page of rainbows, the page of earth, page of fire. King of air, king of water, queen of water. Lots of court cards in this deck made it to the top. Probably, this one had 7 cards, so probably 5 of them were court cards. Anybody ever says to me, court cards are hard to read, I struggle with court cards, I say, you don't you haven't studied the tarot enough. If you have really studied the tarot, court cards are amazing. Amazing. There's so many ways to describe them. And I think I've been teaching tarot for a while. I have a couple of long courses. One's called Tarot Foundations 1. The other's called Tarot Foundations 2. And in Tarot Foundations 2, we really get into the court cards. This is the suit of water, which is gourds. And this is actually tactile, these drips of water. It's really stunning. Courtney Alexander did a great job in this deck. This deck also, many court cards were featured. So there is Lil. Let's see if I can find an example. So this would be the Knight, which is a young gourd. So Knight of Water. I'll point them out when I get to them. You may have to take your time with this deck, but it's definitely worth it. And so nice, you know, when you don't see a heart with 3 swords through it. There are other ways to interpret the 3 of Swords. Mama. So queens are mama. Guessing kings are papa. And in the guidebook, at least in the large guidebook, which is excellent, the face behind is always named, or not most always named. So you know the inspiration, the energy of inspiration behind the cards. So there's an oracular meaning. There's a story about the face behind. And there's always a connection with that. I'm a coin. And I've learned so much from this deck. I mean, this 5 of coins I use as a teaching point in every class. Yeah, very powerful, powerful deck. All right. Are we still in this group? One more card in this group. Okay, so Druidcraft. Kind of a popular deck. Paintings by Will Worthington. Probably of mass market decks, I would say one of the very best guidebooks. And the guidebook, the large guidebook, is a standalone tarot guidebook that you can use with any tarot deck. It is organized by number in the minors. And so you learn a lot about number association. I really like this 9 of Cups. There's a contemplation before the gathering, a reflection. This is what I was talking about in 2 of Cups, right? There are 2 people gazing into each other's eyes. They're not always looking into each other's eyes, but that is implied. Beautiful Ace of Swords. And some unique shifts in perspective from the art of Pamela Coleman Smith, upon which this deck is based. And I think this is a great alternative if the art in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck doesn't appeal to you. Like, this is a complete shift of perspective where you see the boat from the front, not from the back. And different figures in the boat as well. All right. So these are all kind of number 6 because of the number of cards that were in the final. So now we need to go to number 5. Number 5 is also a deck that was gifted to me. Le Tarot au Ramures Etranges, Tarot of the Strange Branches. It's kind of like, it's a dark, right? The colors, not a lot of color here. A few light colored green cards. It feels lunar. It's feminine. Yet it's watercolor. It's emotional. And it has some really great shifts of perspective. So here, instead of a boat, we see this figure walking into the lake or the sea or the cauldron. And there's lots of energy in the crowns and the branches, as implied by the name of the deck. The guidebook is in French. If you don't read French, Google Translate works. You get a real sense of healing and energy healing as well, too, as a relationship with nature. The pages are valet of the suit. Lots of closed eyes in this deck. There's no kings. The kings are the déesse, the goddess of the suit. So the court cards are changed. Queens are the reine. There's your ace of cups. The aces are gorgeous. And your knights are cavalier. This deck makes me feel. And because I do energy healing myself, and there are so many energy healing implied cards, that I really connect with this deck. It's never gone away since I received it. There's the Ace of Fire and the Nine of Cups. So yeah, this amazing deck had 8 cards in the... so that means... well, you can do the math. 5 cards, 56 cards, 5 times 56. A lot of cards, but this card deck had 5 in the top 15. All right, so number 4 is the Gaian Tarot. This is the Llewellyn version of the Gaian Tarot, and I know there is a new edition coming out. So that is, and I don't know what it looks like, but the present edition by Schiffer has gold edges and large blue borders, like a double border. There have been a few editions of this deck. One was a self-published version you could get directly from the creator's website. There was this one and the Schiffer one, and now there's another one coming out. So as implied by the name, it is an earth-centric deck. Lots of conversation about reciprocity with this planet, relationship with the animals. And again, many cards. Here's another 3 of Swords. That is gone beyond the heart with 3 swords. And another fantastic guidebook. So whatever edition you have, the guidebook is the same. It looks a little bit different, but you get it all. And it's great. And again, when I say you get it all, make sure that you always buy the large guidebook. There's always more. And often in the larger guidebooks, you get better descriptions of what's in the card as opposed to just the oracular message. And it's important as well, too, to have the large guidebook if the deck creator has shifted away from what you know in the Rider-Waite-Smith, if that's your deck of reference. And really, really clever. Again, the court cards in this one are changed. This is the Elder, so this would be the King of Fire. Love this Six of Water. Maybe my favorite card in this deck. And I think my favorite card is the Nine of Air. And who would ever say that Nine of Air is their favorite card? And in this deck, I think it is. So I may have passed. Here it is. All right, so just have a look. So we have spirit. We have connection with the tree. We are listening. There is a storm in the background. It's purple, right? High frequency. I think, oh my God, this is such a good Nine of Air. There's a Five of Air. Can you hear how noisy that is? Yeah. The wonderful Gaian Tarot. Joanna Powell Colbert. I have a lot of videos on this deck. This is one that has a different system. The suits are presented in a slightly different order, as are the court cards. There's a connection to the Sabbats. So every single card is connected to a date. So this is a card. And you can also do this with any Golden Dawn inspired deck. You can work with dates. However, this deck makes it very obvious. And this deck also has not only the large guidebook, which is fantastic, it has two supporting guidebooks that are both excellent, especially Wild Magic. I really like that one. And again, it's emotional. It is responsible and speaks about connection with this planet a lot and man's reflection of that. The suit of airs, the suit of air, suit of arrows is air, and begins the journey at February 1st. And so another thing with this deck is that it begins at the cross quarter days, not at the solstices and equinoxes, but it begins, February 1st. And then fire is next with a suit of bows. Look at this great Five of Stones. It's Five of Pentacles. Stones is after Samhain. So November 1st until February 1st. And the sixes are in the middle point of each of those times. Actually, so the sixes are at the Sabbats and the equinoxes. The kings begin the season, and the pages close the season. And this deck also has some great double plays. So this card looks like death, the major arcana death. The same bear, different perspective. It's not stated that it's the same bear, but there's there's animals that appear in multiple cards, and it really gets you thinking about connections, and I like that. And when there's different energy, it's so good for us as readers to expand our knowledge, expand our interpretation, to give time to think about something differently. So Ace of Arrows is the breath of life, and Ace of Bows is the spark of life. This little wren, where's that little wren? Where did they go? The Page of Air. Page of Air. They this little wren makes an appearance in the Hermit card. And the more you work with the deck, the more you get to know where these figures appear again and again. And, honestly, you don't really need the keywords in this deck. If you pay attention and you really look at what's going on, this figure is not even really looking at the goat. They're just shooting randomly. And it's not so much about frustration as it is about lack of focus. And you can begin to see connections among backgrounds and foregrounds. The whole suit of cups is so beautiful. And again, so 2 of arrows, 2 of swords. This part looks familiar, but the key word is injustice. And that really might take you in a very different direction. It's a great deck. And I have, like I said on my channel, a lot of videos. And 2 more decks. 2 decks tied for the top decks, and they both had 18 cards in the finals. This is the Marielle Tarot. This is the first edition, edges trimmed, same as I did on the Tarot of the Sidhe. One of the most powerful guide books. This deck is full of mythology and so much wisdom and connection. It has so much to teach us. I did, again, a deep dive on this deck. There are many, many videos, and I continue to make videos on this deck. I did one just recently on the Queen of Cups and the Devil because somebody asked me something. And so these series that I make are not finite. If you ask a question and I feel it warrants a video response, I will always make another video. So that, like in the 2s, all of the 2s are connected to a part of the body. The 2 of air, the 2 of swords is the lungs. The 2 of discs is about the eyes or the reflection. The 2 of wands, well, I'll show you when I get there. There's some really clever ways that this card, like we have in the 5 of discs, we have Adam and Eve, and there's a whole story that plays out in the 5s as in the 7s and their connection to the chariot. So this deck does a great job, and I mentioned that in Druidcraft, I believe, of teaching about significance of cards connecting with number. So this connects to the Adam and Eve story. This is the 5 of Cups. Also part of the story of the Garden of Eden and the whole story of the 5s. That also includes the Hierophant. And this is a really powerful aspect of this deck is the connection with the numbers. And if you're interested in mythology, this is a deck not to be missed. And there are some cards where you learn so much about self-study, self-reflection. the tarot. And this deck does things different. The astrology is different. Some of it is the same. For example, so in the court cards, the kings represent the element of earth. Their affinity is the earth. And the queens are water, and the knights are air, so that is familiar, which means the pages are fire. And the seasons may be different. But you can figure it out if you're willing to give this deck some time. The sixes are all archangels, which is really cool. 6 as a center of the tree of life, Tiferet, this place of peace. And here are the angels. And this is Archangel Uriel coming up from the depths in the 6 of Cups. And Archangel Raphael, the healer, as the 6 of Swords. And this has been a very transformative, powerful card for me, 9 of Swords. I think there is so much that is not understood in the 9 of Swords. Here's your lungs card. You can see the diaphragm. Oh, this deck. And I didn't do a summary video, a personal summary video for top tarot trumps, but this deck also was up there with the trumps too. So much to learn about the tarot, about life, about history. This Page of Cups, I mean, there's so much poignancy in this deck as well too. And for me, profound past life stuff that has come through. And if people are wanting to work with past life readings, this is a deck that I have at hand. Okay, so I said this was tied, right? So tied for first. And I think you might be surprised about, if you haven't seen the other videos or watched the series, what was tied for first. It is a deck that has no humans in it. I, maybe last year, revisited the Herbcrafters Tarot and did a deep dive. There might be, 15, 16 videos on my channel on this deck. I knew that this deck was worthy of really getting into. It's not just a spring and summer deck. There's great connections here. And like the Marielle, this one connects all of the number cards. So all of the 6s have a connection, and it's stated, and it's part of the story of the deck. So you have the element of fire and the candles that you can work with as the element, but also the 6s bring connection. All of the 6s are about gatherings, and every number has an overarching theme. There's a lot going on in every card, and you may notice different things, different times you work with the deck, and develop a new relationship with a particular element. Learn something. I'm all about learning new things. The deeper we go into certain decks, the more that's going to come through. The court cards. So this is a page. This Iha of water. And in the court cards, you do see hands and arms. And the 3s, the 6s, and the 9s of each suit tell an amazing story. So there's your page of fire, playing with the elements. So all of the pages have herbs, flowers that are easy to grow and easy to work with. Madre, mothers are the queens. And in some of these cards, I swear you can smell the herbs coming off the page. And this deck has got me curious about so many things. The curanderas, I love the hands. And if you know anything about hand and heart connection, healing, I think the curanderas are my favorite cards. So the curanderas are the kings, madres, mothers, and then we have the hijas and then the adelitas. There's a madre of water. There's your knight of water, your adelita of water. Braiding sweetgrass, king of earth. Have you read the book? Wow. And it's funny because I have a daughter who's just studied Chinese medicine and over the years has shared a lot of medicine of many of these plants. So these some of this is Pacific Northwest. I live in Canada, near Vancouver, British Columbia. And so the creators of this deck live in the Pacific Northwest, so the west-north part of the United States. And some of the plants are from that part of the U.S. and some are from more of the desert. But many of these plants do occur on the East Coast as well. And I know some people say that this is hard to work with because we don't have these plants where I live, and I get that. But if you do live in the United States or Canada, certain parts of the world, this is easily relatable deck. So the eights all have a root, right? So we connect to the metaphor of root. Yeah. It's an amazing, amazing deck. And I have to say, so after I did the deep dive, or during the deep dive, somebody suggested trimming so that the artwork could pop. And I did. I trimmed off 3 sides and edged it, and then I lost a card. So what you're looking at here is a very brand new deck, because I had to replace it. I did write to the creators for a replacement card, but surprisingly it never came. Usually it comes. Usually I get a response. Tens are about composting. Tens pose a very interesting story in this deck. And then here's a 6, right? So 6s are about gathering, connection, and community. Yeah, so 18 cards, 56 cards, right? 18 out of 56 cards made it in the top 5. There was probably even more that were included in the series as a whole. So yeah, these are really great decks. I would say if you feel a disconnect with the minor arcana and anything I've said about one of these decks speaks to you, go ahead and pick it up for the minors, just the minors. I find that a lot of deck creators put a lot of energy into their project of the majors. And then the minor arcana doesn't get as much attention. But in these 15 decks, I want to say the opposite. There's a lot of care and attention that went into the creation of the minors, and there is so much to learn from this group of decks. Yeah, so thank you for listening. And I know this has been a bit of a long one. And if you've made it this far, thank you. And I know many of you already subscribe to this channel and follow and all of that. But if you don't, I do really appreciate the thumbs up and the subscription. Thank you. Have a lovely rest of your day. Namaste.